Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and today I present to you a queen representing the state of New Jersey. Leading with heart, inspiring with purpose, Laura Brandao is a dedicated mortgage industry leader committed to educating, supporting, and uplifting others to their highest potential. Her passion for serving the mortgage community is reflected in her roles as chair of NAMMBA's visionary program at MBA New Jersey board member, chair of the MBANJ Women's Committee, the chair of Women's with Vision, a DEI committee member of NAMB, and a facilitator of AIME, Women's Mortgage Network, as well as mortgage executive coach. As a sought-after speaker and champion for the industry, she has shared her insights and experiences through various platforms, inspiring countless individuals. Laura is also a four-time best-selling author driven by the mission to impact knowledge and foster growth within the mortgage community. As the CEO and partner at Lighthouse Advisors, they shine a light on programs, products, and services that bring value to the industry and ensure that clients stand out and thrive in a competitive marketplace. With this robust consultancy, they aim to grow their services with an additional array of experts and offerings to help all clients in the mortgage and real estate industry. She plans to increase her role as a partner owner in 3 new companies that support the mortgage industry: SYE Insurance, SYE Publishing, and Clear Closer. She's honored to receive numerous accolades, including 2024 Most Connected Mortgage Professional, 2024 Woman of Influence, 2024 Industry Titan, 2023 Vanguard Award, 2022 and 2023 Lending Luminary, 2023 Most Successful Business Leaders to Watch, 2023 Most Influential Woman to Watch, 2022 Legends in Lending Award, 2021 and 2022 MPA Elite Woman in Mortgage, 2022 10 Most Inspirational Business People, 2022 NJ Biz Leaders in Finance, 2021 MPA Housing Industry Icon, 4-time Most Powerful Woman in Mortgage, 4-time Woman of Influence, 4-time Woman with Vision. Embark on this journey with her. Stay connected, join the conversations, and be a part of a community that thrives of empowerment and growth. Together, we can make an even bigger impact on the mortgage industry. You can get in contact with Laura at lighthouseadvisors.com or at Brandao_Laura on Instagram and LauraJ.Brandao on LinkedIn. Everyone, please give it up for Laura. Laura, how are you doing today?
I'm wonderful. Good morning. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you for asking. Laura, what made you want to come into the industry, and what year did you get in?
So I have been part of the mortgage industry since my early 20s, and it was all by accident, like so many of us that accidentally come into the industry, where I was a young mom. And I wanted to stay home with my son at the time, but I was a little bored. I was kind of like, okay, I love being a mom, but I need to do something that kind of stimulates my brain and gives me something interesting to do. So I looked for something that I could do in the evening. And at that time, you really had kind of 2 choices. You either worked like in a retail place, like meaning in a store or something like that, or you got on the phone and you called people. And believe it or not, at that time, I was given a choice. And I tell this story because for everyone listening, there are moments in your life that the decisions that you make can change the trajectory of everything that comes after. And the choice that I was given at that moment when I was only 21 years old was, Laura, would you like to accept phone calls, meaning wait for the phone to ring? Or would you like to dial the phone and call people and you try to actually make contact with that person? And my decision in that moment was I would rather control my destiny and make phone calls instead of waiting for the phone to ring. And I happened to get put on a campaign for a mortgage company where we were calling people to find out what interest rate they were paying to see if there was refi opportunities. And I got on the phone and I started connecting with borrowers, and I did very, very well, to the point that after 5 months of doing it, I was actually promoted to run the entire telemarketing operation, and to the fact that that was how I got into higher positions in the mortgage industry, because I loved speaking to people and seeing what I could do to help them.
Laura, any pro tips for anyone listening how you can build trust over the phone within a couple minutes?
You make it not about you. So what happens is psychologically in our brains, we are thinking to ourselves, oh my God, what's going to happen? This person's going to hang up on me. This person's not going to say yes to me. This person's going to be mean to me. That's because you made it about you. What I would always do, and to this day I do this, I make it about them. So my only goal is to make them feel good after speaking to me, putting a smile on their face, making them feel my energy coming across that phone, making it about what I can do to help them. And it's never about me.
No, it makes total sense, Laura. It makes total sense. Can you walk us through what 07, 09 was like for you?
So, all right. So I'm in the mortgage industry, and in 2007, I was running a retail division. The company I was at had wholesale, but they also had retail. And at that time, I was on the retail side. And when everything started going crazy, warehouse lines started pulling, lenders going out of business, really bad stuff. You got to remember, at that time, I have children, I have a mortgage, obviously my income was very important to our family. And I started getting very nervous. And I can remember that I reached out to a friend of mine that was an account executive at a wholesale lender. And I said, hey, listen, her name was Stacy. And I'm like, hey, Stacy, I'm getting really nervous at the company I'm working for. I don't know if they're going to make it. I don't know if they're going to survive this. And I'm like, do you know of any place in New Jersey that, might be, safe? That was the word I used, safe. And she's like, well, Laura, number one, I don't think anywhere's safe because the whole entire industry is like imploding. So we don't know anywhere that's safe. But she said to me, you know what? I have a client that has an idea that he would like to start a wholesale division. Now, I had experience in wholesale because remember, my company I worked for, they had a huge wholesale division. And so I said, you know what? I bet I can do that. And she's like, okay, I'll put you guys in a group chat and you guys can connect and I'll introduce you. So she introduces me to the CEO of AFR at that time. He tells me to drive up and have an interview. I sit down in his office and he says, Laura, here's my vision. My vision is we're going to do one loan product, FHA, down to a 500 credit score. He's like, and that's all we're going to offer. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. He goes, Laura, I'd love for you to run and start from scratch the wholesale division. He goes, here's what I'm offering. 0 salary, no benefits, 100% commission. But if you make it successful, you'll do well. I got in the car. I called my husband. I said, I know this sounds a little crazy because no salary, no benefits, starting from scratch, like no team, just me. What do you think? And my husband said, sounds like you're going to do that. And so that Monday, I showed up, employee number 1 of AFR Wholesale. And you know what I did? You know what I did?
What'd you do, Laura?
I picked up the phone like I did when I was 21 years old. And I started cold calling every broker from A to Z. I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Laura Brandao, and I'm with AFR Wholesale. And I'd like to let you know that if you have any FHA loans down to a 500 FICO, I'm here to help you. I'll take care of those loans for you. The first month, I closed 10 loans just in loans that I was able to get in a matter of 2 weeks. I was able to generate business. And it just grew within a couple of months. We're at $50 million a month from, by the end of a year, I was doing $100 million a month in production during one of the worst mortgage crises that existed.
Nice. No, you prevailed over adversity, Laura. You prevailed over adversity, I would say. Do you think that was a turning point in your career journey? What would you
100%.
say was a turning point?
100%. That was the biggest accomplishment. Obviously, I spent 15 years there, became a president of that company, was an owner in that company, and I sold that company in February of 24. So yes, that was again, pivotal decision. First decision, I decided to call out instead of taking calls in. Second decision, I said yes to an opportunity that a lot of people wouldn't say yes to. They wouldn't say yes to not having a salary or a guarantee or a sign-on bonus or anything else. I said yes to believing in myself. That was the only thing I had a guarantee of. How hard I was going to work, what I was going to do to make it successful. There was no option for failure. I couldn't fail. I had to make it work. And that is the foundation that we have to remember, that every one of us has that inside of us. There's always going to be adversity. I don't care what year it is. I don't care what's happening in the market. There's always adversity. We have a decision to make, because you know what? As long as I can still, to this day, if I can send an email, send a text, do a video, call someone on the phone, I'm not afraid, because I know that I can control my destiny. And all of you can also control your destiny.
Ain't that the truth, Laura? Gotta grab the bull by its horns, I would say. And what's the most misunderstood thing about you, your industry, or your work, would you say?
I don't know. That's an interesting question. You know, it's funny that in 2018, okay, another pivotal moment. In 2018, margin compression was a real thing, right? So we were generating business, but you just weren't making as much profit on loans as you were prior to that moment. There was a lot of margin compression. So me being president of the company at that time, I had to figure out, how do I get in more volume? I, at that time, was given the ability to speak at a conference. Up until that moment, I had never left my office. I was heads down, working 12, 15 hours a day, tied to my desk in an office, working. I had never gone to conferences. I had never done anything outside of that company. But in 2018, I was kind of pushed to going up on a stage for the very first time out of my comfort zone. So if I was going to answer the question of something misunderstood, from the outside, people think I'm a complete extrovert. Because I have a lot of energy, because I'm always out and about in industry things. That's actually not true. It took a lot to get me out of my comfort zone. But what I realized is that we can never reach our highest potential if we don't do things that scare us. So I think the misconception is, I wasn't always the person that you see today, but I will tell you, I'm probably more of who I truly am now than I was then. But if I didn't get pushed out of that comfort zone, I would have never known it.
No, 1,000%. No, our life decisions make our life story. And it sounds to me like you're like super pragmatic, very pragmatic, I would say. What's the biggest misconception people have about mortgages in today's world, would you say?
You know, I still think that mortgages have not evolved to a level of simplicity. I know that we have so many technology offerings and AI coming in and technological solutions, but it is still very, very scary for most of the people that we're working with. It is one of the biggest decisions that anyone will make in their entire lives. And I don't think we, as an industry, have done a good enough job yet of truly educating, truly showing the opportunities to families out there, and especially young people first starting out, that owning a home is the fastest way to build generational wealth. It is life-changing. And it is something that everyone, I don't care what your past environment was, how you grew up, whether no one in your family ever owned a home, whatever your story is of how you started, I don't think we do a good enough job at collectively as an industry to make it so that everyone believes that it's possible. I think that a large portion of America believes that it's not possible for so many. And I think we need to do a better job of that.
No, I totally agree with you, Laura. I totally agree with you. Staying on this topic, like how would you explain to a consumer? There's still some consumers out there that think interest rates are going to drop more. And how do you explain to someone, like in an eloquent way, like a third grade level, like understanding, where like their wage growth probably goes up 2 or 3% a year, but the home that they like actually goes up 5 or 6% due to inflation.
That's right.
So them waiting for rates to drop, like that's going to bring in more pool of buyers into the market, pushing house prices even higher. How do you explain to the consumer? Actually, right now is the best time to buy instead of waiting.
I don't think, they have to understand that the interest rate is irrelevant. It's completely irrelevant. It makes no difference what the interest rates. And let's go back to, when I told you I was on the phones telemarketing.
Yeah, please.
At that time, the interest rates were about 6.5. That was the interest rate. The thing is the people that I was calling, they had interest rates of 9.5. So 6.5 seemed life-changing, right? To go from 9.5 to 6.5, I was practically giving it away for free in their minds, right? My point is, that's why it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. See, we live in a society that so much information is coming at us all the time. Back when I started in the industry, that type of information wasn't as accessible, right? You didn't have it popping up on your phone every minute or having it come at you from every direction, right? You had to actually research it, or you had to read about it, or you had to have a conversation with a professional. So right now it's information overload. But to your point, the equity is increasing so fast that every moment that they're waiting, they're actually losing money. The interest rate doesn't matter, because we all know that if the interest rates do come down, there's always an opportunity to refinance. But that equity is building so much faster that it makes no difference. To your point, you're missing out on that generational wealth growth with every minute that you are not a homeowner. And besides the fact that you're paying someone else's mortgage, you're taking your hard-earned money, not building equity, and you're paying rent to someone that is paying their mortgage. So just if you mentally think about that, right? I mean, if you're paying rent, you're getting no value out of that. You're getting no tax benefit out of that. And that money is not compounding. It is not growing. So even just think about the interest rate makes no difference.
No, I totally agree with you. No, you bring up great concepts. I would say you really bring up great concepts. If you could change one thing about the industry, what would it be and why?
Wow. One thing about the industry. I mean, listen, if you asked me that question a few years ago, well, I maybe would still answer it the same way, but it would be more relevant a few years ago. When I tell that story about 2018, about getting up on the stage, I did get up on that stage. And what happened after I got up on that stage was I had a line of women waiting to speak to me. When it first happened, I honestly thought I did something wrong. Like, I thought people were like, oh my God, Laura, like that was terrible that you said this. That wasn't why there was a line of women. The line of women were there to tell me, thank you so much for representing a women leader and executive in the mortgage industry, because we never get to see women up there. In that moment, a light bulb kind of, went off on the top of my head, where I said, oh my God, I need to be out more representing women, because there's not enough women showing up, using their voice and spreading their message and bringing more women forward of the generation behind me to show them that it is possible to be the president, to be the CEO, to be on these boards. It is possible. And so if there was something I was going to change, and like I said, it's getting better. So I don't want to say it's not totally in a good place, but I would like to see more women leaders, more women executives, more diversity of all types in the mortgage industry. It is still too heavy one way in the direction of the leaders within our industry.
I apologize.
No worries.
Sorry about that. Let me see if this can work. And then, here we go. Sorry about that.
No worries. Oh, you're choppy. Wait, you're breaking up.
Okay. Let me see here. Can you hear me better?
Yeah, I think that's better.
All right. Sorry.
Okay.
So from what you got out of it, it was woman empowering women.
Whoops, say that again.
So from you're out there in the conferences, and it was essentially just woman empowering women. That's what you got out of it.
Well, it was that there wasn't enough women leaders, that women weren't seeing women that they could aspire to be. There were no role models. You know, there wasn't any women for them to say, I want to do that in my career, or I want to follow that.
Yep, we're back.
Okay.
And not enough women leaders.
Correct.
Okay. All right. And Laura, can you
and not just women. It's also diverse. You know, it's diversity. It's seeing all different types of leaders, not just older white men.
Yeah, you're totally right. In 2024, yeah, we're now a melting pot of all walks of life.
It should be that way always.
Yeah, it should. Yeah, you see all types of perspectives, which is good. It's good. It's really good. We're a product of our environment. Can you explain to us the courageous decision of starting Lighthouse Advisors, and how has that impacted you so far?
Yes. So, you know, it's very interesting because it's kind of the maturity of a career. Because what I've decided is as I made my way through my career, I've spent a lot of times building lenders, you know, being very focused in one area. And I've kind of gotten to the point now in my career that I don't just want to help one particular person. I want to be able to have as big of a positive effect on as many people as possible within the industry. So if you kind of take a look at where my trajectory is now, that's why I sit on multiple boards. That's why I have ownership in multiple companies, and why I am the CEO of Lighthouse Advisors, to be able to give my expertise, my experiences, my contacts, my networks to other companies to be able to now help them. So although I'm not necessarily in the front of those companies, I'm working with some of the best CEOs out there in the industry, guiding them, giving them advice, connecting them, giving them the expertise that I have, that I've been successful with, and helping them in their new efforts, whether it's opening up new divisions, whether it's working with their leadership team, whether it's bringing in some of my tech team to do an analysis on their tech stack to say, hey, maybe we can put AI in this section, and maybe we can pick up efficiencies here. So we have an entire team of consultants behind us that go into companies and help them in whatever areas they need. Let's say they need help in compliance. Let's say they need an operational efficiency and optimization overhaul. Whatever that necessary tool and gift is that we need to bring to them, that's what Lighthouse can shine a light on. So I'm kind of at that point in my career that I don't want to just help one or help grow one. I want to be able to have that ripple of positive effect, to be able to grow and support many, many, many organizations across our industry.
Well, all right, no, I tip my hat off to you. I clap for you. Bring out the champagne, bring out the confetti. You're building almost a conglomerate within the mortgage space, not even just the company. You're like
That's right.
you really got your hands on a little of a lot. You're like almost like an octopus. Just you got your hands on a lot of things, I would say.
And I love that because I've realized that I am able to make the biggest leaps and bounds when I'm challenged. Complacency is our enemy. To everyone listening to this, don't ever become complacent. Now it's safety. So many of us, we want to feel safe. We want to feel that I know what I'm doing, I'm confident in what I'm doing, and therefore I no longer need to challenge myself. That's a mistake. When we get into that complacency, we are no longer learning. We are no longer growing. So you want that consistency of, I'm a master at this. You want to keep that. I am a master at a lot of things. But then I challenge myself. And let's actually take insurance as an example. You know, a year ago, we made the decision of going out and getting our licensing for insurance. Now, if you look at what's happening in the world right now, look at the difficulties in insurance that's happening right now. Right now, I probably wouldn't have thought about doing that 10 years ago. But right now, having great options for insurance is a top priority now because there is so many natural disasters happening and so many insurance companies pulling out. That has now become a top priority in our industry, where if you're qualifying a borrower, you can't wait to get an insurance quote. You can't wait to figure out who's going to be insuring that property, because if you're in an area that has some of that difficulty, what if you think the policy is going to be, and I'm just making up a number, $150 a month? But what if you can't get insurance for less than $300 a month? And now your DTI is blown out, and now you don't have a loan because you didn't do your upfront work. Now, that's something that I wouldn't have thought that that was important 10 years ago. It's important now. And it should be important to everyone that's working with families and are doing loan production right now. These are things that change over time. Maybe AI wasn't a conversation we were having 2 years ago. Well, it's a conversation we're all having now. We better be aware of what we can do with AI, how we can integrate it into our businesses, and not just Chat GPT. There's so much more that we could be doing. We should be working with chatbots, and we should be looking at ways that we can integrate to underwrite and to do processes and to validate and to cut down on time and cost of origination. All of these things are things that will evolve over time, but complacency would kill all of that.
No, 1000%, Laura. 1000%. It's very interesting. It's hard to teach an old dog new tricks almost. It's
We
like
get
people,
complacent.
yeah. It's like people don't like the unknown. It's like they're a little bit fearful of it. But you gotta let them know that sometimes, hey, you gotta give them a little push or inspire almost, so they can take that leap and see what's out there. Changing the topic just a little bit. If you
Yeah.
could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be and why?
Hmm. So, one of my favorites that I love to read about and learn about is Teddy Roosevelt, believe it or not. So, if you've ever read the stories or books or anything about him, number one, he had a lot of loss at one point. I mean, the story is that his mother and his wife actually died on the first day, on the same day. So, this man had this crazy amount of loss all on one day. It was actually, I believe it was Valentine's Day too. He lost his mother and his wife. And what he did is he went out into nature and he started riding a horse and being in nature and going within himself. And that was his connection to one of the reasons why he started all the national parks, is because he realized that nature and protecting our lands and the beauty within the United States was something that he needed to protect for future and future generations. And that's just one story of my thought is, we all have the ability to make change. Sometimes people think that, well, I don't have that amount of money, or I don't have that title, or I don't have those connections. You're wrong. Every single one of us has the ability to make the change that we put the effort into. No one can stop you if it's something that you truly believe that has to change. So I think Teddy Roosevelt is somebody that's just one example. Of course, then he became the president and he did so many incredible things to help the Americans at that time. And the thing that, and the whole Rough Riders, being in charge of the Rough Riders and what he did there, this guy was unstoppable. No matter what he was faced with, no matter what adversity, if he saw something that was wrong, he stayed focused on it until he integrated and implemented change. And we have that ability within ourselves. And when I look at this and I say to myself, it's not a him problem or a her problem, it's a us problem. And if we believe passionately about something, then change it. Don't point fingers and say, well, it's up to them to do it. No, it's up to all of us to do it.
No, yeah, you're totally right. It's up to us to take action and be purpose, move with purpose, or take action with purpose. And we all have the opportunity to make an impact in this world. It's completely up to us. You're totally right on that. And what's the most challenging aspect of being in your role in today's world, would you say?
See, I don't look at anything like a challenge. So I honestly can't answer it with that particular way. I think everything is an opportunity. I don't go into anything with a no mentality. There's no such thing as that word. It doesn't exist in my brain, because a no is a not right now. I don't look at anything as a challenge or a no. I look at every single thing as either not right now or a yes. Because I believe that if you go into anything thinking something's a challenge, then it'll be. To me, nothing is a challenge.
No, it's a great response. Yes, just not right now. No, I love that. I love that. That's a great. You always see the glass half full. You're very optimistic.
I can't look at life any other way. I don't know how to. It just doesn't exist. I believe that the only one that can stop me is me. If I'm going to give up on something, well, number one, I don't give up on anything. I don't, if I'm starting it, I'm finishing it. Like, there is no such thing as an option for failure. It's not happening. Like, I will stick with it until, but I also want to give another piece of advice that I've learned very recently. Mm-hmm. My philosophy is who, not how. So let me explain. When I'm in business or in my personal life, actually my entire life, it's not how something is going to happen. It's who. So I decide who I want to do things with, whether the who is personal or whether the who is business. I surround myself only with people that I believe I can either help, or I could support, or we could do greatness together. And the how will work itself out. So I never attach myself to people that don't have my same core values, my same level of integrity, my same thought process of always being mission purposed. I'm here to help other people be their best selves. It's not about me. It's never about me. It is me bringing out the best in others. And I surround myself with other people that believe that. They're not in it for themselves. They're in it for the bigger picture of what our impact will be on the rest of the world and ourselves. So I go into everything. I don't necessarily know how it's going to happen, but as long as I position myself with the who's, the right who's that I want to be with, the how always seems to come together.
There you go, Laura. There you go. No, keep molding individuals and changing their whole trajectories in life. You're true. You're shining. You're someone's sunshine in their world, I would say, to everyone's world. And then what do you think about work-life balance, and how do you apply it in your life, Laura?
So that's another word that I call it work-life harmony. Okay, work-life harmony, because I don't think you're ever in balance. I don't think there's such a thing as being in balance. Okay. Now, I want to take you back of the story I shared about being tied to my desk for 12 to 15 hours a day and never leaving my office. Okay. That was my life building AFR for 15 years. I mean, I worked from morning, noon, night, 7 days a week. It didn't matter. I was on call every moment that if a broker had an issue or a team member needed me, I was there. During that time, I was raising a family, right? I had children that were growing during that time. And there were many times I couldn't go on vacation, or I couldn't attend the school things, or I couldn't do some fun things that I wished I could have done. And I like to share this story, and I share it with a lot of especially moms, because there is a real thing called mom guilt, right? Where you think that you're almost messing your children up, right? That oh my God, I'm gonna mess up my kids. They're gonna be terrible adults because I wasn't there at the school, pageant in the middle of the day, or something, right? And it's interesting that now my boys are grown, and maybe about 5 years ago, we were on a vacation, and we were just happened to be driving in a car in Europe. We were in Portugal, and we were having a conversation of just, whatever, life stories. And I finally said to my boys, I said, guys, I want you to be very honest with this answer. I wasn't around for a lot of things when you guys were growing up. I said, and I'm curious to know, how did that affect you now looking back? What honest answer I'd love to hear. And both of my boys, they said, Mom, you don't understand. We were the proudest kids to be able to say, my mom is running, a large national mortgage lender. My mom built that company from scratch, of her being the first person. And she would come home at night with boxes of files sitting on the dining room table, underwriting loans and taking calls, at 10 o'clock at night. And we were so proud that was our mom. Our mom taught us that work ethic. Our mom taught us that you can grow something from scratch if you just put the work in and you dedicate your time. And how many families we helped, and how many brokers we helped, and everything else, and the impact that my mom did. They said we wouldn't have changed one thing, because when it was important, you were there. You were there on the birthdays. You were there on if we were in a play at night, and you were in the front row, and you were supporting us, and you were there when we needed you. And we wouldn't change one thing. And that moment taught me that our kids are watching us every minute. And although that we try to pull ourselves apart and be everywhere at every time, we just have to remember that we may not always be able to do everything that we want in that moment. But if you are setting that example of the positive impact that you are making, I promise you, in the end, when they're grown up and they look back, they will remember those special moments you had personally, and also the example that you were setting for them.
No, you're totally right. No, kids are self-aware, and the fact that they realized that they had a number one mom with a relentless work ethic, like they cherish the moments when you were there for those pivotal moments in their lives or their chapters. And Laura, your work ethic for the calling from 12 to 15 hours, would that still work in 2024, or what would be your advice for somebody like jumping in the industry today to maybe get a loan before the year ends? Or what would be their strategy for 2025, you think, to be successful in today's world?
I think you have to have a plan. One of the things I live by is consistency. Okay. And I'll give you an example of that. It doesn't matter what my title's been, what company I'm with. It doesn't make a difference. I am someone that has always gotten up very early and started my day. Right now, I actually spend half the year in Arizona and half the year in New Jersey right now. That is the life that I designed. It's since 2016. Me and my husband go back and forth. We have houses in both places. And so right now, as an example, I'm in Arizona because we spend the fall and the winter in Arizona. And right now, I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I am at my desk at 3:30 in the morning. And every single day, I am recording my videos, doing all my social media, reviewing all my reports, networking with people, doing my sales initiatives. I have a strategy that doesn't change whether it's East Coast, West Coast, day of the week. It doesn't matter. When I start a plan, I never end the plan. It does now, I might make modifications to the plan, but consistency is the key. So for everyone out there, come up with your plan, stick with your plan, and don't make excuses. There's no excuses of, oh, I'm on the West Coast, so I'm going to sleep later. And doesn't work like that. If I'm on the West Coast, if it's 6 o'clock in the morning in the East, well, then I'm 3 o'clock in the morning. I've got my butt out of bed and I'm sitting in front of a camera making videos and I'm out there prospecting and I'm doing my sales initiatives and I'm following up with clients. It doesn't matter. No excuses. If you've got work to do, you come up with your plan and it doesn't matter what's going on that day, you do it. You remain consistent, and that is how you remain consistent in your business. And you know what? When times are tougher, you double down. So instead of 3 o'clock, maybe it's 1 o'clock, and maybe it's more videos, and maybe it's more calls, and maybe it's more emails, and maybe it's more networking events. Whatever you need to do, you need to adjust it based on the market. Eliminate the excuses. You're doing this to build for your family. There's nothing more important. So do you really want it? Or do you want to come up with the reasons why you can't get it? Because I promise you, there's going to be people out there that they're going to get it. So is it going to be you or is it going to be them?
You're totally right, Laura. You're totally right. You love the mentality. You really are. You really get after. You're a go-getter, I would say. And with you juggling all this, what's the most challenging aspect of being in your role, you think?
Well, I mean, I think you have to continue to navigate the market. Every market is different. You have to always be in tune. Listen, I work 5 years in advance. When I say that is my actions of 2024, I started 2 years ago, right? My actions right now, to be quite honest, I'm already up to 2030. I already know where I'm going by 2030. I know what I expect to achieve, and I know what I'm anticipating the market will be like and what to anticipate with that. Now, I don't have a crystal ball. I'm projecting based upon what I know about from the MBA and what I know about from my conversations with great leaders in our industry. So I may need to modify, but if you are working on 2024 right now, boy, are you late, because you should be already working at least for the end of 25. You should never just be working in the moment. You have to always be ahead. So I would say navigating the changes in the market, and listen, we have a presidential election coming up. Depending on who wins, that's going to dictate some regulatory changes. That's going to dictate possibly some economic changes. We don't know who's going to win, but we have to adjust based on that, right? So I think navigating the different changes in the market, that might be the biggest thing that you have to really pay attention and continue to adjust based on those changes.
No, I totally agree with you, Laura. Being able to pivot on a dime is so imperative in today's market that some people are still stuck in their habits from like pre-pandemic or during the pandemic, which they're not. It's not really applicable.
Doesn't apply.
Yeah. So you're totally right. So you have to be self-aware and knowing how the environment is and knowing how to navigate on it. So I agree totally with everything that you're stating. What are your personal goals? You did touch on this. What's one of your favorite books, podcasts, or articles that had significant impact on your life or work?
So I'm someone that I constantly want feed my brain, so to speak, right? And it's funny, somebody wrote an article about me a few years ago that I'm addicted to TED Talks. And that I still remember the article because it's so funny, right? That when I used to drive to an office, and I haven't driven to an office since the pandemic, but back when I used to drive to an office, I would literally put my phone on the TED app and I would randomly hit play, meaning I didn't know what the topic was. It didn't matter what the topic was. Like, I didn't necessarily only listen to this topic or that topic. I would randomly just hit play and I would learn about whatever the topic was on the TED Talk, because I believe that no information is bad information. And the reason being, let's say I go to a lot of conferences and I'm always at different networking things. I never know what the person I'm speaking to may have an interest in. If I'm having a conversation and somebody says something about epigenetics, I want to be able to say, oh my God, did you listen to the podcast with Bruce Lipton in regards to where epigenetics started and the importance of epigenetics and how it relates to small children? I want to be able to have that conversation. So you can't limit yourself to only one type of information that you're listening to. Now, I will tell you only positive. I do not listen to the news. I do not listen to crime series. I do not listen to things about murders or negative things. I have no interest in that. I'm only interested in things that I can either be educated on or things that I see the opportunity in.
I'm not good for you, Laura. Even though you've done your 10,000 hours in your space, you're continuously like a student of the game and a sponge, always learning. Like, never stop learning. Even like you can never stop learning. There's always room for improvement. And then, Laura, have you ever been driving or watching TV or like on your phone and just pondering to yourself, like, maybe if I wasn't in the mortgage space, I would have have been on this career path? Does that ever occur to you? Like, is there another career you think you would have excelled at?
So I originally was going to school to be a lawyer. And the reason why that was the career that I was going for is I always remember that this is a really funny story, and I don't think I've ever shared this publicly. When I was in high school, one of the requirements was you had to take swimming as part of your gym class. And I decided I didn't want to go swimming in the middle of the day. I thought it was a ridiculous requirement that if I went to a school that didn't have a pool, we wouldn't go swimming, right? So you should be able to have gym as a regular gym class and not have a mandatory requirement to swim, okay? So I decide I'm going to go to the Board of Education, and I'm going to petition that they change the rule. I won. I actually won the case at my high school, and I got it changed. To this day, it's an elective. If you want to swim, you go swimming. If you don't want to swim, you just take a regular gym class. And I did that, and it was the first moment where I spoke up. And once I spoke up for lots of things. That same year, I wanted to work in the afternoon during high school and get credits, but make money. They told me I couldn't do that because I was a college prep student and I wasn't like a business student. And so I wasn't eligible. And I said, well, I think that's a problem because I don't understand why I can't go and get a job and get credits and be able to earn money. Why only business students? And I got that rule changed. So all of a sudden, I'm like, I think I could have a voice and be a lawyer and actually speak up for other people. But what happened was me and my high school sweetheart that got married when I was 19 years old, we became young parents. And my whole trajectory changed that brought me into the mortgage industry. So to answer your question, I would have been a lawyer if I didn't come into the mortgage industry.
Well, it's funny. You mentioned this earlier. You started off the podcast saying that our decisions can change our whole trajectory in life. You're totally right. It's fun. Serendipity, though. Serendipity.
I belonged here. I was supposed to come into the mortgage industry.
The universe. You gotta love it. And is there any piece of advice you wish you had received early in your career that think could have changed your whole trajectory in the mortgage space, or catalyst, or is there a lesson that sticks out to you?
I really want people to think about the who, not how. So many times people get caught up in how to make things happen. How do I get that title? How do I grow my business? How do I figure out the next great thing that's coming? Give up the how. Don't worry about the how. Take the leap of faith, put your foot out on that staircase, even not knowing what that next step is, and just surround yourself with the who's that are going to be belong right next to you, helping you. Part of the reason of my success in this industry is because I've surrounded myself with some of the greatest team members and some of the greatest people to be able to build companies together. This didn't happen on my own. This wasn't just me. It was these amazing teams that I built and these wonderful people that supported me and lifted me and helped me. We don't do this alone. And I would be very remiss if I didn't mention the fact of my wonderful husband that has been with me, like I said, my high school sweetheart, that we were still happily married. And he is still the person that's posting my social media every morning and editing my podcast and supporting me all these hours that I work and being my cheerleader. We don't get here on our own. Worry about the who, not the how. Because if you surround yourself with those great people that love you and support you and respect you and celebrate you, you'll always be okay.
I totally agree with you, Laura. I totally agree with you. And I'm glad you have a husband that supports you. You're yin to your yang. And I only got 3 more questions for you before I let you go. You don't have to answer this, Laura, but how do you handle negative criticism about your work or negative feedback if it's ever occurred?
I think feedback is extremely important. And it's interesting. There's a client that I'm working with right now, and he is very big about feedback, to the fact that one of the reasons why we work together is he wants me to critique him all the time. He wants me to what did I do wrong? What can I do better? How can I improve? This person constantly wants feedback. I've never met anyone that wants feedback that much, right? And it's interesting that the reason why we push back on feedback is because we haven't normalized it. We have looked at feedback as negative. But what I need everyone to understand and hear is that when someone gives you feedback, they are investing in you. They are showing how much they care about you. Because when someone doesn't care about you or someone doesn't have an interest in where you're going in the future, they're not going to tell you anything. They're just keep doing whatever you're doing. It actually takes great care and concern for someone to give you that feedback. Now, I will tell you, if you asked me this question 15 years ago, I probably would be like, oh, it's so tough to take feedback. Now I have a different perspective on it. I know that you're actually caring about me. If you give me feedback and you say, Laura, that was really great that you gave that speech. What you should have done, just a recommendation, is at this moment, it would have been great if you stopped and you just let us absorb, instead of keep going. I would be like, oh my God, I didn't even realize that. That's great feedback. Thank you for sharing that. But if that was maybe 15 years ago, maybe I'd be like, oh, Jesus Christ, I can't believe that he picked on that one part. He should have told me how great I was. No, we all need to accept feedback and realize that's a good thing.
No, totally. No, constructive feedback can go a long way because it really can shape you to be a better person, better individual, better human, I would say. Second to last question, Laura. You know me. I'm so grateful for this opportunity to share with you today. When I'm really old, I might rewatch this. Can you give me a life message, please?
Oh my goodness gracious. Celebrate every single day. There is not a day that goes by that doesn't have good in it. Some days will have more good than others, but every single day is a celebration. It goes by very, very quick. When I started AFR, I was in my early 30s. I was like, oh my God, I'm a baby. I'm so young. I'm doing all of this. And then in a blink, that time goes by. And you don't realize that it's going by as quick as it is because you're in the day to day. And sometimes we forget to celebrate that every day is truly a blessing and every day has good in it. So enjoy that good. Don't focus on the things that went wrong. It's not going to matter in the future. 20 years from now, it's not going to make a difference. What's going to make a difference are the good things.
Thank you, Laura. I take that to the heart. And my final question to you is, what legacy do you hope to leave behind through your work when it's all said and done? How do you want people to remember you?
So this is so important to me. Almost when I said to you I'm working on 2030, everything right now is about legacy. Everything. I'm no longer working on the day-to-day. I'm blessed. I am blessed in my life that I've built, multiple successful lenders. I've sold. I've accomplished so much. I have so much to be thankful and grateful for. Everything now is about the number of people I can positively affect, the number of people I can teach how to continue to have a successful career for their legacy. All I want is for people to fondly remember how I touched their heart, how I've taught them things that they can then pass on. And the more I can help the generations behind me, that is truly my legacy. I believe that the mortgage industry finds us. I didn't find it. It was my calling and my blessing that I had to come into this industry. I made a promise that I would leave it better than I found it. I do believe that it is already better than I found it when I originally came into it. You got to remember, I came into it during a time of subprime loans and, some of the scary stuff that was going on back then. And that doesn't exist anymore. I came into a time where I was the only woman sitting in a boardroom. I was the only woman that was an executive. Those times are changing. Those times are getting better. We still have a lot of work to do. I believe that the legacy is there, and I will not stop until I continue to leave that legacy of that impact.
Laura, I think you will manifest everything that you set your mind to. From that presentation, from your first conference till the future, I think you will keep impacting not only women, but individuals that want to aspire to leave an impact to in the mortgage space. Ladies and gentlemen, you just heard from a queen representing not only New Jersey, but also Arizona now. Laura, how do you like to people get in contact with you?
So I am very, very active on social. So LinkedIn is great. Facebook is great. Instagram is great. And of course, Laura at lighthouseadvisors.com. We are here to help. And if you can think of something you need help with within your business, I promise you, I have an expert that can assist you. So let us know how we can help. We are here to grow together and to leave that monumental impact.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here. Get in touch with Laura. She will give you that 5-star customer service that you've been waiting for. Laura, can you stay on the call for just one more minute, please? Thank you.